You know, when you own land, you become a lord, a landlord, right? Land has a lot of attributes. So let's compare it to others. Let's compare it to stocks, to gold, or to even fiat currencies. And let's go one by one. Is it tangible? 100%. It is very tangible. Is it timeless? That's a very important question. It means, does it exist tomorrow? If you want to store your value or your wealth after you've worked so hard, yourself, your family, into anything, would you rather store it in something that may disappear tomorrow, or with something that is timeless? Certainly timeless. Now look at, is it finite? 100%. It is finite. We're not making it anymore. And therefore, if you apply the law of economics, as demand grows for a valuable asset that is finite, it's only going to increase in value. Is it stable? If we look at the historical value of land versus gold or versus other asset classes, land is one of the most stable assets, continuously growing, but very stable. And we talk about store of value. It is very important. Gold is a great store of value. Not necessarily finite. It is scarce, but its scarcity is great, but not necessarily finite. So land has an attribute that is unique. It has a longitude and latitude. That's spatial coordinates. We have consensus on globally that those exist and we know where they are. So we use those coordinates to create that immutable link with land. So when someone invests in land, the way we're doing it on a 24/7 basis at a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time, they know for sure, they can fully trust that this land is theirs and no one will ever take it away from them, especially because it's a decentralized governance setting. No one can take it away from them, and no other person can hold it at the same time. That's called double spending. If you compare that to gold, unless you have the gold in your safe, which actually has a risk associated with it because someone can steal it, you buy land, you don't need to store it, you don't need to pay on it, you don't need to pay for it, and you don't need to worry. No one is going to steal it because it's unstealable. Land has a perpetual increase in demand. It's perpetual. As we grow, as we need more land, and therefore it's only going to increase in value, logically speaking. During a downturn, like they say, buy the dips, right? If I look at the prices of land today in this part of the world, I see an amazing opportunity in the future, again, for someone who's willing to hold for a good amount of time. Look, land is finite. We're not making it anymore. Like Mark Twain said, buy it because they're not building it. They're not making it anymore. And Dubai is a great example that demonstrated how much land is valuable by actually building land, reclaiming it on the water, and creating such an amazing growth and a wealth from that developed land. That's a great example. At the end of the day, land is finite. You're gonna have to, as an investor today, because there's no marketplace that offers you all of that liquidity, which you're working on. But you're gonna really have to due diligence this location when it comes to real estate. You have to look at the land where it is. What's the upcoming developments around it? Are there any hurdles? And if you have the means, right now is a great time, I believe. Someone can have an exposure to land through a land fund, land-focused ETFs, exchange trade funds. A good exposure to land is farmlands. You're an expat, there are designated areas where you can invest in, you're not, you have more options. But if you're a short-term investor, you really have to look at those designated areas that are already developed or very close to reaching full development, that would be the best time. Now, if you're a long-term holder, then you're going to have to look at the developments that are still in the early stages. And obviously, we have many places around the UAE that are designated for investments, and you can buy land there, such as the Palm Island, JLT, and different places. There's about 25 of them. The risks, so investing in land comes with a downside risk. Well, I would say it's downside risk protection rather, right? Again, as long as someone did their right due diligence and didn't necessarily overpay at a very inconvenient time where probably they are the last one catching the last bubble. Because of the inefficiencies of the land marketplace, there are some cons which I talked about. Illiquidity. You need to hold the land for a long time. Land, if it's not income producing, is not generating any yield. So you maybe put your money in a stock that can generate yield. But on the other side, land doesn't need support. You can buy it and hold it for a long time. You don't need to take care of it. It will never lose its intrinsic value, unlike stocks or any other investment that potentially may disappear overnight or over years. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but in my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons by a lot.